What would you do if one day you discovered that your mother's death was not an accident, but murder, and the killer was someone from your own family? Would you search for the truth, or stay silent just to survive? This is the story of Michael Anderson, and the mansion where even the walls are hiding secrets. 6 hours away from Chicago, in an isolated countryside town, stood Blackwood Manor, once a grand estate filled with life and light, but now abandoned, silent, and heavy with darkness. After 12 years, Michael Anderson returned home following the death of his father. The car tires scattered dust across the empty road. The mansion gate was covered in rust, as if time itself had stopped there. His father, Richard Anderson, had left behind only one strange sentence in his will: "Do not sell the mansion, uncover the truth." But what truth? All Michael had ever been told was that his mother, Eleanor, died in a car accident. Soon after, he was sent away to boarding school. The mansion doors creaked open. A stale breeze filled the air. The smell of old wood lingered in the halls, and an unnatural coldness surrounded everything. In the drawing room hung a large family portrait. Michael froze. In the picture was himself as a child, his mother, his father, and another little girl. His heart began pounding. Who is this? He had no memory of ever having a sister. He wiped the dust beneath the frame and read the faded name. Emily, age 5. His mind went blank. He never had a sister. Or did he? At 11 p.m., when the mansion had fallen completely silent, Michael heard a loud noise upstairs. Thud, as if something heavy had fallen. He grabbed a flashlight and walked downstairs. The drawing room door was open. On the floor sat an old wooden chest he had never seen before. His throat went dry. Slowly he opened it. Inside were old letters, faded photographs, and a diary. Written on the cover was one name: Eleanor, his mother. His hands trembled as he opened it. The first sentence made his blood run cold. "If this diary ever reaches Michael, know that I was murdered." His breathing stopped. Murder? The diary revealed that his father's brother, Victor, had been committing fraud in the family business, and Eleanor had discovered everything. Victor had threatened her. "If you tell anyone, neither you nor your son will survive." Blurred childhood memories flashed before Michael's eyes. A night filled with screaming, his mother crying, his father furious. Then darkness. The final diary entry was incomplete. "Tonight Richard told me I must leave the mansion for a few days. I'm afraid, The rest of the page was empty. Michael slowly closed the diary. At that moment, headlights flashed through the room from outside. He rushed to the window. A black car was parked outside the gate. Someone was sitting inside. Michael ran outside. But the car sped away into the darkness. That night his phone rang. Unknown number. A cold voice whispered, "Close the diary, or you'll end up just like your mother." The call ended. Michael's heart pounded violently. The next morning, he visited the town's old caretaker, Samuel Reed. The moment Samuel saw him, he sighed deeply. "You came back. I always feared this day would come." Michael asked directly, "My mother didn't die in an accident, did she?" Samuel lowered his eyes. "No, son." The ground beneath Michael felt like it disappeared. Then what happened? That night, the police came to the mansion, but the report was never filed. Why? Because money and power bury the truth? Michael hesitated before asking, "And Emily?" Tears filled Samuel's eyes. "That same night, your sister disappeared too." Michael's breathing became heavier. "Why was I never told?" "You were only a child. They sent you away to boarding school. Your uncle handled everything." "Uncle Victor?" "Yes." Everything finally began connecting in Michael's mind. The business fraud, the threats, the buried police report, his missing sister. That night, Michael entered the mansion's study room. Inside was an old locker. He tried his mother's birth date as the code. Click. The locker opened. Inside was a hidden file, the original police report. Michael's hands shook as he read the words. Suspicious death. Possible strangulation. There was no mention of a car accident. Inside the file was another paper, an address, and beneath it, a chilling sentence. Emily is alive. Shock flooded his eyes. If Emily was alive, where had she been for the last 30 years? Suddenly, the mansion lights went out. Darkness swallowed the halls. Then came footsteps on the stairs. Tack! 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 Michael switched on his flashlight. Who's there? No answer, but upstairs, a bedroom door slowly creaked shut, as if someone had just entered it. Gathering his courage, Michael climbed the stairs. He opened the door. The room was empty, but on the bed lay a fresh piece of paper. Only one sentence was written on it. If you learn the truth, you will not survive. Michael realized he had only two choices: run away in fear or uncover the truth. And he made his decision. He would go to the address. If Emily was alive, then she knew everything, but Michael had no idea that the truth waiting for him was not just the secret of a murder, it was the story of an entire family's destruction. And the most terrifying part of all? Maybe his father was not innocent either. The mansion drowning in darkness. The faint sound of a car engine hums in the distance. Before sunrise, Michael had already left Blackwood Manor. The address he found inside the diary was clenched tightly in his hand. An old neighborhood on the outskirts of Chicago. A worn-down apartment colony near the industrial district. Throughout the drive, only one question echoed in his mind. If Emily was alive, then where had she been for 30 years? And who had hidden her? The address led to an old 2-story apartment building. Peeling paint, narrow stairways, faded number plates hanging on each door. Apartment 302. Michael's heart pounded heavily. He knocked. Silence. Then slowly, the latch clicked. The door opened halfway. A woman stood there, around 35 or 36 years old, simple clothes, but eyes filled with strange depth and sadness. Yes? Michael swallowed hard. Are you Emily? The color drained from her face. Where did you hear that name? Only one sentence escaped Michael's lips. I'm Michael. The room fell completely silent. The woman's grip loosened from the door. Michael? Tears filled her eyes. You're alive? Michael stared at her in shock. What kind of question is that? You're the one we were told was dead. The woman stepped back slowly. Come inside. The apartment was small but clean. On the wall hung an old photograph, the same family portrait. Only this time the frame was newer. Michael's breathing became uneven. How do you have this picture? The woman answered quietly. Because I'm Emily. Time stopped. Years of silence, years of lies, years of darkness. Emily sat down slowly. I was raised believing my mother and brother were dead. Michael's mind spun. Who told you that? Uncle Victor. The air inside the room grew heavy. Michael pulled out the diary. Mom was murdered. Tears filled Emily's eyes. I know. Michael stood up instantly. You knew? And you never tried to find me? Emily looked directly into his eyes. I was threatened. Threatened with what? They told me if I ever returned to the manor or spoke the truth, they would kill you. Michael felt the blood drain from his face. So my entire life, I was in danger? Emily nodded slowly. Uncle Victor took me away from the manor that night. I could hear Mom screaming from her bedroom. I was standing near the stairs, and I saw... Michael interrupted anxiously. What did you see? Emily's voice trembled. I saw Dad, strangling Mom. The room felt like it had exploded into silence. Michael stepped back. No, that's impossible. Why would I lie? His mind refused to accept it. but the diary says Victor threatened her. Emily nodded. The business fraud was real, but that night, Mom told Dad she was going to expose everything to the police, and he lost control. Tears filled Michael's eyes. Dad was the killer? Emily whispered. I saw it with my own eyes. Silence. Only the ticking of the clock remained. Michael grabbed the chair beside him. His entire life was collapsing. Then what about the accident story? Dad called Uncle Victor afterward. They arranged everything. The police were paid off. The report was changed. Then why did they hide you? And Emily took a deep breath. Because I witnessed everything? Michael finally understood. This wasn't just murder. It was a complete cover-up. But one question still haunted him. Then why did Dad let me live? Emily answered immediately. You were too young. You remembered nothing. Suddenly flashes returned to Michael's mind. That night, his mother screaming, his father raging, then darkness. I remember pieces of it. Emily gently held his hand. That's why they sent you away to boarding school, far from the manor, so you'd never learn the truth. Tears rolled down Michael's face. But Dad's will said, uncover the truth. Emily looked stunned. A will? Yes. He wrote it before he died. She remained silent for a moment. Maybe, he felt guilty. The room fell silent again, but Michael's mind wouldn't stop racing. There's something else. Emily looked at him. I received a threatening call, and a black car has been following me. Emily's face turned pale once more. Uncle Victor. He's still alive? Yes, and now he owns the entire business empire. Michael realized the story was far from over. If Dad was the killer, then why is Victor still so afraid? Emily answered quietly. Because Dad wasn't alone. Michael froze. What do you mean? That night, while Dad was strangling Mom, Uncle Victor was in the room too. Silence consumed the apartment. What are you saying? I saw him. He didn't try to stop Dad. He locked the bedroom door. Michael's thoughts raced violently. So this wasn't just a moment of anger. It was planned. Emily lowered her voice. Mom was going to hand over the business documents to the police. Both brothers would have been destroyed. Michael realized his entire family had been built on lies. Suddenly, Emily's phone rang. The screen displayed one name, Uncle Victor. Both of them looked at each other. Emily answered nervously. Hello? A cold voice came from the other side. Michael is with you. Emily's throat tightened. No. Don't lie. Tell him to stop searching for the truth. The call disconnected. Michael whispered, They know I'm here. Emily nodded slowly. They've always been watching. For the first time, Michael felt real fear. These people weren't just hiding the truth. They were making sure the truth never survived. Michael finally made a decision. We're not running anymore. Emily looked at him in shock. Then what? We find proof. How? Determination filled Michael's eyes. There's still something hidden inside the manor. Dad's study, the basement, old CCTV records. There has to be something. Emily suddenly froze. The basement? Michael looked at her immediately. What? She tried to remember. That night, after Mom's murder, Dad and Uncle Victor went into the basement. Michael's breathing quickened. What's in the basement? Emily whispered. I don't know, but Mom was terrified of that place. She never went near it. The room felt heavy once again. This story was bigger than murder. What was hidden in the basement? Documents? Evidence? Or something far worse? Michael stood up. Tomorrow morning, we go back to the manor together. For the first time in years, Emily smiled faintly through fear. After 30 years, I'm going back. Michael looked at her firmly. This time, For the truth. Camera slowly zooms out. Outside the apartment building, a black car is parked across the street. A man sits inside, watching their window carefully. He types a message on his phone. They're both going to the manor tomorrow. A reply arrives instantly. Finish it this time. The music intensifies. Michael and Emily have no idea that behind the basement door they're about to open, it may not only be the truth waiting for them, but death itself. The next morning, Michael and Emily returned to Blackwood Manor together. The mansion stood before them once again, the same ancient walls, the same silence. But this time, they were not alone. Their buried past had returned with them. The gate creaked open. The rusted chains screamed against the metal. Emily stepped inside the manor. Tears filled her eyes. I never thought I'd come back here again. Michael looked at her quietly. This time, we're not running. We're here for the truth. They headed straight to the study room. Everything looked exactly the same as Michael had left it, but now their purpose was clear. The basement. In the corner of the study, behind an old bookshelf, they discovered a wooden trapdoor hidden beneath layers of dust. Michael pulled it open with force. Slowly, it creaked open. Darkness waited below. A freezing gust of air rose from beneath. Emily's heartbeat quickened. This is where they went that night. Michael turned on his flashlight. Together, they slowly descended the stairs. Every step groaned beneath their feet. But what waited below was beyond anything they had imagined. The basement wasn't just a storage room. There were old files, lockers, and a massive iron cabinet. But there was something else. Dark stains on the floor. Old blood. Emily's throat tightened. What is this? Michael stared in horror. They brought Mom here. The iron cabinet was locked. Michael forced it open, and what they found inside changed everything. An old video camera, several VHS tapes, and a sealed envelope. Written on the front were 2 words, for Michael. Michael's hands trembled. It was his father's handwriting. He slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a short letter. Son, if you've made it this far, then you're finally ready to know the truth. I am guilty. But the truth is far more complicated than you think. Michael's breathing stopped. Emily whispered, "Play the tape." In the corner of the basement sat an old television and VCR connected to a generator. Michael inserted the cassette. Static flickered across the screen. Then the footage became clear. The date appeared. August 14th, 1996. The room on screen was Eleanor's bedroom. Eleanor and Victor were arguing violently. "I'm going to tell the police everything!" Eleanor screamed. Victor shouted back angrily, "You don't understand! We'll lose everything!" Then Richard Anderson entered the room. Michael's father. He looked desperate, panicked. He tried calming Eleanor down. But suddenly, another figure stepped into frame. Michael and Emily froze. It was Margaret Anderson, their grandmother. The grandmother who had died 20 years ago. On the tape, Margaret screamed furiously, "This business belongs to your father's legacy! No one is going to the police!" Eleanor shouted back, "I will not raise my children with dirty money and lies." The argument escalated. Victor grabbed Eleanor's arm. Richard tried pulling him away. The camera shook violently. Then Eleanor stumbled backward. She crashed against the staircase railing and fell. Her head struck the sharp edge of a table. Blood. Silence. Michael's breathing stopped. This wasn't strangulation. It was a tragic accident during the struggle. But the tape wasn't over. The next scene showed the basement. The hidden camera was still recording. Margaret's cold voice echoed through the room. "No one calls the police. Make it look like an accident. If this gets out, we all lose everything." Victor looked terrified. Richard stood frozen in shock. Margaret spoke calmly. "Eleanor is dead. Now decide, do you protect this family or go to prison?" The basement fell silent. Tears rolled down Michael's face. Emily, Dad didn't strangle her. Emily's voice broke. But he still hid the truth. Michael whispered, he was afraid. But the biggest shock was still waiting, the second tape. Michael inserted it. This time, the footage showed Margaret and Victor speaking privately in the basement. Margaret said coldly, the girl saw everything. Victor replied, Emily? Yes, send her away and the boy goes to boarding school. Victor hesitated. And Richard? Margaret's voice became emotionless. He's broken already. He'll never speak. The screen went black. Only Michael and Emily's breathing remained in the darkness. The mastermind behind everything were Arwiwidi and was their grandmother. To protect the business, the money, the family reputation. She turned her daughter-in-law's death into a lie and trapped the entire family inside it for 30 years. Suddenly, bang! The basement door upstairs slammed shut. Michael and Emily looked at each other instantly. Footsteps echoed down the staircase. A shadow appeared in the flashlight beam. Victor. He descended slowly, holding a pistol. I warned you to stop searching for the truth. Michael stepped forward. We know everything now. Victor's face hardened. You don't understand. I did this for the family. Emily shouted once. For the family? Or for the money? Victor snapped angrily. Your mother was going to destroy all of us. She only wanted the truth, Michael yelled back. The tension exploded. Victor pointed the gun directly at Michael. Give me the tapes. Michael stared calmly into his eyes. The police already have copies. Victor's expression changed instantly. Liar. Try me. Victor's hands began trembling. 30 years of guilt weighed across his face. Then suddenly, police sirens echoed outside the manor. Victor froze. Michael spoke quietly. Dad's will didn't only say, uncover the truth. He gave all the evidence to his lawyer years ago. If I ever returned to the manor, the files would automatically be sent to the police. Victor slowly lowered the gun. Defeat filled his eyes. We were only following Mother's orders. Police officers stormed into the basement. Victor was arrested. Michael looked around the basement one final time. It wasn't just a room. It was 30 years of buried truth. Months later, the case was officially reopened. The video evidence was presented in court. Richard Anderson's name was cleared of intentional murder, but he was still found guilty of covering up the crime. Margaret Anderson was publicly exposed as the mastermind behind the entire cover-up. Victor was sentenced to prison. And Michael, he never sold Blackwood Manor. Instead, he transformed it into a women's support center. He named it the Eleanor Foundation. Emily stood beside him during the opening ceremony. Michael looked at the crowd and said, the truth may arrive late, but it always arrives. And when it does, it doesn't just free one family. It frees generations. The camera slowly rises above the mansion. Blackwood Manor is no longer dark. It shines brightly beneath the night sky. Voiceover. Every family hides a secret, but the difference is this. Some people spend their lives hiding it, and others find freedom by finally bringing it into the light.